was I made a shoe shine box when I was a kid, and I used to walk all the way from Stewart Avenue to the airport. And back then, the big airplane was the DC-3, held about 24 passengers, I think. And I'd go around, and these men would have hats, suits, and gloves on, and I'd go around and say, "Shoe shine, mister?" "Yeah, boy, give me a shine." And I got 25 cents a shine. So when I come home, I had a pocket full of quarters. I thought I was well off. I was rich. Kelly, the brother that was next to me, as you know, he was an all-star athlete. He was track, basketball, and football, and went on to play for Duke University, and then from there he got drafted in the NFL. He played 2 years for the Detroit Lions and 3 years for the New York Giants. That's about it.
Charlotte Rentz, I think you're next.
Okay. Oh, good. I'm used to a microphone. When Gene asked me to talk about growing up in Hapeville, I looked at him and I said, "I didn't grow up in Hapeville, Gene." And he said, "You didn't?" I said, "No. I was one of the CNS brats who came in the mid-50s. So I entered Hapeville High School as a freshman, my first year in town, and was in town for about 4 years till I finished, and then I left for the University of Georgia and didn't come back until '97. So I have a very limited experience, limited in terms of time anyway. Thanks to a young man who was a sub-freshman when I was a freshman at Hapeville High School, William Bailey, he got me involved in the Historical Society in town. And I ended up taking that and keeping the museum open now for, oh gosh, since 2006. So I've learned a lot about this town from that business of doing the depot and the museum. So when I started thinking about what am I going to tell you, I had not looked at my memorabilia from high school in years. So I pulled them out, and I discovered all sorts of interesting things I had never known or had forgotten. So I thought I'd share a few of those with you today. If you'll recall back, at the time I came to Hapeville, it was shortly after Delta and CNS Airlines merged in '53. Then in '54, they did the legal work to make sure that the employees could sell their homes and get moved and start over in Atlanta. To give you a perspective, that's when I came to Hapeville. And what was it like? You know what it was like better than I do. Interestingly enough, I recently found a piece of paper in our archives from the Presbyterian Church that noted that Miss Barbara Terrell and Mr. Thomas McDonald married in February of 1954 at the Presbyterian Church in Hapeville. So, y'all were getting married in higher education and pursuing careers when I started my journey through Hapeville. We started out on Meadow Road. I think those were wartime housing. They were duplexes over there where Central Park is now. Stayed there a little while and moved to Elm Street. And then my parents bought a lot on Hope Street. My dad had a house built, and we left Elm Street and came to Hope Street, almost on the corner where it comes back into Oakdale. Our neighbors included Jim Terry, Jim Turner, the Delta guys, who were so involved in the baseball program in Hapeville. My dad thought Jim Turner walked on water. And if he were around, he'd say it today, too. But I made friends early on. I was shy and awkward. I was tall for my age. My feet were too big. And I just didn't know how I was going to survive a new place. I wanted to go home every day the first year, but it didn't take long. One of the things that happened that first year going into the second year is I had physical education first period in the morning, and that included swimming. And for a young girl at that age, swimming first period in the morning is disaster time. It's a bad hair day every day. And I came out of that experience and said, I'm not going to do this. Well, you can't just say, I'm not going to do this. So I came up with a plan. And my plan was to join the band. Because if you were in the band, you didn't have to take physical education. Wanted to play the oboe, they didn't need an oboe player. They certainly didn't need another saxophone or clarinet player, but I got a seat as a clarinet player. I really didn't like it very much, but my parents spent all this money on a new instrument that I had to learn to play. I looked around though, and all the girls were interested in the football players, and the band got to go to the away games, but the band didn't get to be on the bus with the football players when they went. It was cheerleaders who got to do that. So I said, okay, this is what I got to do. I got to try out to be a cheerleader, which was absolutely unsuccessful. I did that twice and decided I needed another strategy. So I spent a whole year preparing to go out for the majorette squad. And I faithfully got on the bus and went downtown and took my lessons, so I was ready. So my senior year, I was a Hapeville High School majorette. Did it the hard way, but got there. Let me share some of the people I ran into along the way, if I can see. When we first came to Hapeville the first year, I looked through my bus books, and it has a listing of all the people. By the way, there were 110 seniors in the senior class that first year. And when I graduated in '58, there were 100. So the class size went down just a little bit. There were 41 faculty members that first year in '54, '55. And 17 of them were actually living in Hapeville, which I thought was really interesting. You go over to the elementary school now and practically none of the teachers are local residents. The phone exchanges were CA and FA. I don't know what that stood for. And Fairfax? All right. The next year in the buzz books, the exchanges were all PO. I don't know when they went to the full number system. I also looked at the downtown area, and one of the things that struck me is there was no distinguishing between North Central and South Central, North Fulton and South Fulton. In the early days, Fulton went all the way through. So, just some things that I just hadn't thought about in a long time. How am I doing on time, Gene? Okay. I have some stories I want to share. Okay. In 1954, 55, and 55, 56, 57, what is that, a 3-year period? Yes. Mark Lovern was on the faculty at Hapeville High School. He graduated with you, Tommy, didn't he? Mark Lovern and Henry? You guys did know Mark Lovern, who went to Hapeville High School? Okay. All right. Mark Lovern was my English teacher my first year. And then I had a different English teacher every other year, including my final year with Nevada Wells. But why I had a relationship with this man, I don't know, because I always thought he was really funny and kind of a little bit crazy. But when I was going through my yearbook in this reviewing the past, I ran into something that Mark had written to me in my yearbook that I didn't know was there. And I want to read you part of it. Let's see. He says, Charlotte, when I learned that Delta CS was sending a tribe from Memphis, I sighed. Lord, save us from a dumb bunch. Airlines and military folks move so much that dummies often float with them. What a pleasant shock I received in having you as one of my Memphis crowd, who wasn't a dummy. You have afforded me 2 happy years as a student. That you might always have happiness is my sincere wish. Thanks for being your own sweet self. You have been a pleasure to teach and know. When I get too old to meet airplanes at 4 a.m. in the morning, I'll still have happy memories of doing days with kids who couldn't eat. Now this refers to something we did, and I barely remember doing it, and I don't know who we met, but Mark was with this group of kids that went out to the airport to meet somebody coming in the middle of the morning. And why my mother let me get out of the house to do it, I'll never know. But she was always saying, you can't do something that I wanted to do. But he ends it saying, I shall always have a genuine concern for your happiness. You are a sweet young'un. Love, Mark. One of my friends from the neighborhood over on Hope Street was a young man whose name was Better Houston Tex Steve. He was the drum major for the band. A gorgeous young man who was with one of the ballet companies in town. Tex was taken with a young lady named Charlene Callahan, so he wasn't available for a romantic encounter. But when she was tied up one day, he took me to an ice skating. My first and only experience with ice skating. I loved it, but I was awful at it. But I shall never forget Tex for doing that. Let's see. We all had something called the Senior's Memory Book. And I had forgotten there was such a thing. So there are comments in there about the baccalaureate service and important highlights. And I named several things in my important highlights, and I won't bore you with all of them. There are also mad moments. And 2 of mine are worth repeating. One is hiding LB, who was Lloyd Byers, out when he left home. The other was helping SW, Sam Woodward, pass senior English. There are comments about teachers, and I loved my comment about Daisy Francis Smith. Journalism. No works, but a lot of laughs. And the entries on the page, we had a page that was marked for boys and a page that was marked for girls to sign the memory book. And my long-term friend, Lloyd Byers, that my parents thought the us would grow up and get married. We didn't. Lloyd was a long-term friend and a double dating buddy. And he wrote in my book, I have enjoyed watching you ramble through the boyfriend this year. Best of luck to you and yours, whoever it is, in the coming years, and I hope you have as much fun in college as you have had in high school. Then I looked at my highlights. I went to 3 dances at senior year, and I went with 3 different boys. So I guess I deserve the comment. I didn't remember that. When we went out to do things, there were places we went, and one of the things we did, apologies to Eugene, we didn't go to a sit-down theater. We went to drive-ins. Again, my mother had to car us over going to drive-ins. And I looked at my scrapbook, and there were tickets and tickets from drive-in theaters. And one really interesting trip was to the Domino Lounge. Anyone remember the Domino Lounge? I wasn't either, but I did. And I went with George Hammond. And George had a new pair of contacts. And the first thing that flew off of that woman, his contact popped and it went on the floor. And we spent the rest of the evening trying to find it. I guess I had a pretty good time in high school, right? I want to tell you one experience about the book. I was on the staff for the Hilltop. And we had our meetings at in Melvana's dining room. And they went on and on and on. So we were having this big meeting one night. And it was about 1:30 in the morning and my mother called. Where is my daughter? Why isn't she home? I was so embarrassed I didn't know what to do. But that was Melvana and that was Mother, and you just had to live with the two. Baseball fields. The baseball fields were a draw for young girls. And I had a special friend named Nancy Jones. Olivia, I forgot her middle name, Jones. She stood about 5'2", and she drove the biggest Cadillac I have ever seen. And we got into more trouble than you can imagine, because she could always get out, and she always had wheels, and she always wanted company. And I just say, well, Nancy and I are going down to the ball field, and we went all sorts of places. Okay. I'm going to end this by talking about Juno Allen. Juno was the photographer for the yearbook, and he'd been doing it about 4 years when I graduated. And this was the ad for his Hapeville studios. He put a full-page ad in the yearbook. And Juno decided, he asked me if I would sit for a portrait to be on that ad. Now, I came into high school as an awkward freshman. I wore roll-down socks and ballet shoes to make my feet feel not so big. And I tried everything to be petite and attractive and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm going to be put on a 4-page. Gino didn't take the superlatives and the popular girls. He took someone that he had worked with, and I was picture editor. And we spent a lot of time. I ran across my book and I had every picture listed, checked off with the date and the taken, and ready to go. So this was such a special treat for me, and it made me feel like a princess. And what a wonderful way to end my high school time in Hapeville. Thank you.
Come on, Bill Bailey. Dr. Bill Bailey.
Is this working? Yeah. My name is Willie Bailey. Bill Bailey, Yankees. All right, can you hear me? All right. Gene asked me to talk about the 60s. CNN has a week-long show about that. Which decades, so this is not going to be like the population of Hapeville in 1960, according to the census, was 10,082. It's the highest ever for a census year in Hapeville. 99.8% white. 36% were under 18. That's 3,650. So you could get some baseball teams to fill up the rock stands back in those days. And 6% were 65 and over. 625 people. Just think about that. It was a young town. It was a bedroom community for metropolitan Atlanta. They were on Peachtree across the street from people in the hospital at Rawlington Park. Used to have an electronic sign there, and used to go by and see when it was going to change to a million. According to the census of population for 1960, it had Metro Atlanta had about 1.3 million people. Now what is it, over 6, almost 7? Although the Ford plant and the airport were important employment centers, most of the city's working people worked outside the city. My dad was a steel worker, a factory worker on Hunter Street, near its end at Oakland Cemetery on the east side of downtown Atlanta. He rode the number 27 Hapeville trolley to and from downtown Atlanta every workday. He taught me how to look at the wires to see when the bus was coming in. The factory has in the last decade been repurposed as a loft apartments with a bed with rollover and because it was a hard place to work all through. My two brothers and myself. My mother was a factory worker at Nabisco. She called it the Nasty Biscuit Company in East Point. She worked shifts, mostly 3 to 11 p.m. or midnight to morning. She was hard to get along with in the morning. She drove herself to work and back. I remember those things. Hapeville's mayors back in the 60s were 1960 to 64, Frank Coggin. And I can remember, as I look back on things, I guess I was probably the least delinquent of a lot of my friends. And you mentioned Nancy Jones. Rudy Jones was one of my best friends. David Coram was probably the toughest guy in Metro Atlanta. He was my neighbor, next door neighbor. My daddy loved him, but I did not leave the house with him. So Wayne can attest to that. David was really a pretty good guy around town, but not when he got out. But anyway, I remember Frank Coggin. I was dispatched to the city's council meetings from time to time to talk about how bad some of the cops were giving tickets and things and walking up to kids. And I would walk up there to Stephen Hall and say, "What do you want?" And I would tell him. He said, "Okay, I'll take care of it. Going back home." And he would. He was a great guy. I didn't know at the time to know what his history was, but he was interesting. Let's see. 1965 to 68, Herbert Tillman Jr. was the mayor. I believe he lived on and then 69 to 74, of course, Perry Hudson. April was a live, play, walk, bicycling community with easy access to plentiful work and cultural opportunities. You know, we talked about that little phrase now about being a live, work, play community. It was back then. People walked to school. I walked to North Avenue Elementary and to Hapeville High, as did my 3 siblings. I'm the youngest of 4, and there was 8 years between me and the next brother, so I probably was in the state, but it was interesting. So anyway, I'll tell you a Mill Mountain story. All of you have heard. Sure. See, my sister, some of her classmates are in here. They told me. Her name was Jackie. She graduated in 49. Her brother Charlie graduated in 52. And they called him Poor Devil. 53. And then Jody graduated in 56. So, and I graduated in 62. So anyway, we had the same teachers at the elementary school and high school, and so that's continuity and consistency. And we're a kind of boring group when we get together. These schools help prepare me for college and for a career. I'll tell you a little about the story. When I was in, I guess about the 5th grade or something like that, Jody had a paper route. And it was the biggest one up at the paper house in Hapeville, and that's where the Regions Bank is now. And so he groomed me his senior year in the spring to deliver the papers one day. So I practiced and whatever. So what I had to do is get about 250 papers onto my little red wagon, get it across the railroad track, and then get down to Parkway and start dumping them off. He had some older kids that would deliver the papers. So I don't know why he couldn't do that day. But I didn't ask, I just did it. So comes the day, and I take the papers in my little wagon, I get across the road and track, and I made it. But when I got right in front of the recreation center on North Fulton, the back wheels of the axle on my wagon broke, and all the papers just spilled out into the road. But then this interesting lady drove by. She got out of her car. This is a Chrysler Jeep. She got out of her car. She had an old, distinguished-looking haircut, and she had those little glasses. She could look over like that. And she was tall, and she kind of bent over. She had an artificial leg. I said, dang, to myself, interesting lady. But I was really upset with myself because I was with my brother down. She said, maybe I can help you. And so she put my wagon and the papers in the trunk, took me around, we dumped all the papers off, and she took me home. It's in the spring. And May. And Jody is a senior in school. So we walk into our little house, we go drive in Forest Hills. They tore it down, improved. And so I walked to the kitchen, and I went in and I sat down at my seat. And Charlie was there, Jody was there, and my dad was there. And Mother was at work. And so I looked straight through the house, and I could see this woman standing in the doorway. And so I looked to my left, and I said, Daddy, this lady that brought me home is on the porch. And Jody was facing me. Charlie was over here. And Daddy leaned over and looked over Jody's head and said, oh, Miss Wells, come on in. Because, she had taught my sister and Charlie. And she knew exactly when she picked me up what had happened. Jody Bailey had played hooky at school. And so when Jody was dying, I talked to him one day. We spent a whole evening together just talking about stuff. Because I was kind of the latchkey kid, and he took care of me. And really did a great job in retrospect. But he said, what the worst part of that was? And I said, what? They never said a word to me about it. They just let me stew until the next book drive. Anyway, that was Miss Wells. All right, let me push on here. Now I'm talking about Hapeville being a live, play, walk, biking community. Chapman Drug and Hapeville Drug. We would walk there, hang out there. I saw Elvis at the Fox with my mother on March 14th and 15th, 1956. Yes, she took me back to see him again. I remember he came back in June to the lowest grand and he could not get a ticket. He made it. That was in 1956, and that's when he really. I saw Psycho at the Fox.
Put it on YouTube.
I walked to the baseball field to play. The city had a public swimming pool where I learned to swim at age 5, and the city had a pool hall, although I
For a couple of years now. My dad Bob Wood. My dad brought it. He moved us out.
never got in trouble. My daddy never
in
let handle me,
77.
never
He was a
raised
Hapeville Hornet, played basketball, football.
But I knew what not to do and what not to let him find out from my brothers.
There you go. That's where it'll be.
Coach Brown was a teaching coach when I was in the 9th grade.
You know how to do it.
George Hudson was my youth league football coach.
Gene wanted me to have a
And
little
our weight group and our
for a
age
couple of
group,
years now.
we
You
played
can
well.
go back and catch about a dozen.
And the group above us in weight and age, they were a lot better than us.
for you.
My
I
junior
got the
year,
dates
that
on
was
it,
the
so you can see
Hapeville High
when
School
it was
football
we were
team.
going.
And they, on paper, were probably the best that Hapeville ever had.
Well, indeed. About every 90 days he has
First
first.
time I've been here.
The next year, and I remember being
Sometimes he's been up for a room.
the next year, we didn't have an ounce of talent on the team. We were 6-4, but easily against the team. We just had maybe 43 as good as a group.
There you go. You have he and my mom went to school.
But anyway,
Yeah,
Coach
yeah,
Brown was
pictures of
coach
himself
of the
when he was
year.
about
I seen
driving one of them fancy
those are
automobiles
the
and
cars
my mom
smart.
sitting over his
We
car.
didn't know it at the time. Somebody scheduled us to play them for our homecoming. And they were the
Nothing
number
like
one
being in
team
a
in the
small town
state.
like that, knowing
We
people.
were double. And we beat them. And the reason we beat them, the reason we always beat them, when we were in youth league. We didn't know that was rankings and things. We didn't know if they were supposed to be. But Coach Brown was a great guy. He had a lot of opportunities to study. Georgia State University, Georgia Tech, UGA, Emory, Woodrow Wilson Law School, John Marshall Law School, Georgia Baptist Hospital, School of Nursing. All of those were opportunities you could access by the bus.
They start
In
talking,
Hapeville.
and next thing you know, it's like, I
Um,
remember old so-and-so.
Let's see, I had two heroes from Hapeville. One of them's in here, and the wife of one of them's in here, Tommy Smith. I won't say why he's my hero, but he earned it. And then, of course, Curtis earned it too. Talk about him. Curtis Williams. Okay, the winds of change in Hapeville. What internal forces have taken place or started in the 60s? According to Chief Clay, right, I interviewed him when I was at Georgia, I was doing a little research, right? And I went in to see him, he said, you know, Willie, we could fight a riot in Tokyo with the equipment that we have. And he said, we got it when, from money from the two new hotels in Texas. And he was bragging about all this stuff that he had, he was really laughing about it. He was a good guy. But you know what happened internally is the Hapeville High School graduates moved away.
Scott, okay.
Talk to you again, so no doubt.
Hard to come move back. So people moved down to Sharpsburg, Fayetteville, Red Oak, places like that. All right, external forces going on in the 60s. Hang on, I've got a couple more things to say. The Vietnam War. We had 4 former Hapeville High School students who were KIAs in Vietnam. And we had many veterans. And of course, Curtis, Dewey, all due respect. In World War II and Korean War, we had a lot of veterans around. So when you were growing up in Hapeville, you had those guys. You know, you took ROTC in high school, you took it in college, and then when it came your turn, you didn't. So that's the way it was. The Civil Rights Movement was the 60s. Political assassinations, I don't need to tell you about that. It's all very interesting. I learned a lot about my dad in 1964 working at that factory. He was president of the local steelworkers union. And the experience I had working there with race was much more gentle than most people have. I knew that about him already, but I learned a lot because people talked. All right, airport expansion, another trying force. Is Hapeville a winner or a loser? Well, probably somewhere in between. Metro is, the airport is Metro Atlanta's economic engine, and Metro Atlanta is Georgia's economic engine. I love people in South Georgia who say, "Oh, we go to Atlanta, we're good. We don't want you to." You can stay. We'll take advantage of it ourselves. But we do know that Hapeville's future is tied to the airport. How many of you have read a book called Flight Path? I've heard about it. Where did I hear about it? Charlie Miller told me about it. You don't might know Charlie. He graduated with me, and his dad was a weatherman here. Anyway, this lady named Hannah Palmer, who lives over in Eastbourne, she grew up or at least one time lived in Mountain View. And she wrote this book called Flight Path. You can just think of the flight path from east to west and all the things that changed. So I encourage you to read that book. It has things about Hapeville, but maybe about what's going to happen in the future. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill Bailey. Our next, Henry, you got something?
Yeah, I've got one thing. We boys one time went up to the Hapeville depot where it says Hapeville. We covered up the sign, the H, and made it Hapeville. And when the train came in, we'd all act like a bunch of monkeys with H's. Anyhow, it used to be that was my second job. Back then, the only way you could get something fast, a special delivery letter. And I would meet the train every day at 4:20 and go out on my bicycle all over Hapeville delivering these letters. That was my second job, I can tell you that. And I broke my leg in football sophomore year.
Thank you, Henry. Folks, our program was a little bit long today, but I want to tell you that we're going to try to do this again in 3 months, November the 8th. November the 8th, here in Hapeville.
Just want to say once again to please contribute a little bit so Gene doesn't have to bring all this up. He's a real poor guy. He's been on welfare for a long time. So whatever we can do to help him would be greatly appreciated.
Bless his heart.
Anybody have any announcements, anything they'd like to say or talk about? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Have a safe trip home and be careful.
All right.
I got his first name, but I can't think of his last name. Scott, but I can't think of his last name. I believe he was.
Jimmy Meyer. That's how big
Right there. My girlfriend.
It was a huge crowd. Huge. I'm telling you.